guest. He's Fox News military analyst, retired Colonel David Hunt. Great to see you, Colonel. Your reaction to this story?
Yeah, a couple of things. Let's start with the Secretary of State, who's a prior military man and was director of CIA. What does he expect the governors to do about the information he just said? There's not a state in the Union that can defend against the Chinese or the Russians, period. That's a federal response problem. So I don't understand at all the conversation. The reason the Russians are continuing to screw with us because we didn't do a thing to have any consequences on Russia after the 2016 election. China's been doing this for 25 years with no consequence. I don't mean they go to war consequence or the trade issue. We have an offensive capability in cyber that's second to none. It's not, and we have abilities to hurt people who do what the Secretary of State is telling the governors about. And we have not. We've chosen not to, partially because we're such an open society. But that kind of speech to me was a waste of time, period. The audience can do nothing about what the Secretary of State said. The Secretary of State can't do anything actually much about it. This is the intelligence community and technical assets that have to be put in play.
You know, Colonel, the Secretary of State also saying, quote, competition with China is happening inside all 50 states. He's saying it hits America's national security and that under Xi Jinping, China is moving toward more repression, more unfair competition, more predatory practices, more aggressive military posture. The Secretary of State, Colonel, called out state-run pension funds, saying China is trying to gain advantage over the U.S. at all levels of government, calling out the state pension funds for effectively investing in China's state-backed oppression of its people and against the U.S. Watch this.
And it's decided to exploit our freedoms to gain advantage over us at the federal level, the state level, and the local level. Of its latest public filing, the Florida retirement system is invested in a company that in turn is invested in surveillance gear that the Chinese Communist Party uses to track more than 1 million Muslim minorities. California's pension fund, the largest public pension fund in the country, is invested in companies that supply the People's Liberation Army, that puts our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines at risk.
Your reaction to that?
The Secretary of State's being disingenuous. The Chinese government, the money being made in China is being made by the military and the intelligence community and the autocrats that run the government. You can't pick an investment in China that the military, the Chinese intelligence community is not profiting from. And the Secretary of State knows that. Again, what is the federal government capability in stopping what's going on? And it actually is a great deal.
Can the pension funds not invest? Well, he's calling out the state pension funds. It sounds like don't invest in this.
Yes, but he's calling them out saying that, did you know that second and third tiers of that money is going to something bad and evil? And the answer is maybe not. Guess who's got the intel for that? The U.S. government. I don't know. The audience to me seemed to be China or somebody else, and it's not the governors who can do little about what they're talking about. Every pension fund, not every, there's a lot of pension funds. If you go second and third, fourth tiered, dig holes, if you have the ability to dig, you can find it's not going to very good stuff. My problem is the government, federal government's the one that has to be able to respond to this, not the states.
Colonel, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.